Ladies and gentlemen, in a world obsessed with chasing the next big thing, there's a truth most people will only learn too late, and it came from the lips of a 92-year-old woman who's lived through wars, heartbreaks, and miracles. She told me something so raw, so life-changing, that once you hear it, you will never see your time, your relationships, or your purpose the same way again. What she shared could save you decades of regret, but only if you're willing to listen right now, before life teaches you the hard way. When you're young, you think you know everything. You think your heart has already been tested, your mind has already seen the truth, and your instincts will carry you through any storm. But the reality is, time has a way of humbling us. It has a way of whispering lessons so quietly that we don't even realize we're learning them until years later. It's like the ocean wearing down stone, slow, patient, relentless. The wisdom that comes with age isn't something you can download into your heart in a moment. It's lived, it's endured, it's scarred into the soul. I once sat across from an elderly woman whose hands told her story long before her mouth did. Wrinkled, veined, and weathered, they were the kind of hands that had baked bread for crying children, wiped tears from cheeks, and waved goodbye to loved ones who never returned. When she spoke, there was no rush in her words. Every sentence landed like it had been weighed before being gifted to me. And that's the thing. Elders don't just speak, they give. They don't talk to fill silence. They talk to hand you something you can carry. The problem is, so few people actually listen. We live in a time where noise is everywhere, but truth is hard to hear. Young people scroll past wisdom because it isn't packaged in flashing colors or quick clips. They want answers that fit inside 10 seconds, but life doesn't give you those kinds of answers. The big truths, the ones that matter, they require patience to receive and courage to accept. She told me, "Child, the things you think matter right now, one day they won't. The people you think will be there forever, some won't. The pain you think you'll never survive, you will. And the moments you take for granted, those will be the ones you'll wish you could live again." And I remember sitting there, feeling the weight of every syllable. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't shouted, but it hit. Because deep down, I knew she was telling me something my future self would one day come back and thank her for. You see, the weight of time has this strange magic. It makes you realize that the trophies you're chasing, the approval you're craving, and the rush you're living in, none of it will mean much if you've got no peace in your heart. When you meet someone who's lived 90 years, you're looking at a walking library, every wrinkle a chapter, every scar a page. If you're wise, you don't just hear their story, you take notes. Because what they're offering you is a shortcut through pain, a way to avoid the mistakes they already paid for with their own heartache. And yet, most people don't see it. They see old age and think weakness. They see grey hair and think irrelevance. But that's because we've been taught to value what's shiny and new, not what's proven and true. Time teaches you differently. Time will show you that the most valuable people in your life are not always the loudest, the trendiest, or the most visible. Sometimes they're the quiet ones sitting in the corner, watching, knowing, waiting for you to finally be ready to hear them. She told me how, when she was my age, she wasted so much energy on the wrong things, holding grudges that didn't deserve her heart space, worrying about opinions from people who weren't even part of her future, chasing money so hard that she forgot to enjoy the moments that money was supposed to make special. And then, one day, she woke up and realized that the people she loved most were either gone or far away. And all she wanted was one more simple dinner, one more slow morning, one more hug. Her voice didn't tremble when she said it. It was steady, like someone who had long made peace with her truth. And in that moment, I understood. Life is not a race to be won. It's a path to be walked. And the older you get, the more you wish you had slowed down to notice the flowers, the laughter, the sunlight on your skin. We waste so much of our youth trying to fast forward, but the people who've lived the longest, they'll all tell you the same thing. You should have paused more. Time has a way of stripping away the illusions. When you're young, you think your friends will be around forever. You think your body will always feel this strong. Your parents will always answer the phone. Your opportunities will always be there tomorrow. But the truth is, tomorrow is not promised. And when you finally learn that, it's not a reason to be afraid. It's a reason to be present. I asked her, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say? She smiled in that way people do when they've already rehearsed the answer in their mind 1,000 times. I'd tell her to listen more than she talks, to trust her gut more than her fears, to choose people who choose her back, and to remember that no matter how bad a day feels, it will pass, and no matter how good a moment is, it will too, so hold both gently. It hit me then, the wisdom we need isn't hidden in books or locked in some secret code. It's sitting in the people around us who have already lived the years we're about to walk through. We don't need to make all the same mistakes to learn the lessons. We just need to have the humility to listen, because when a 92-year-old speaks, she's not giving you random advice. She's giving you the map she wishes she had. We're so used to thinking we have time. We delay the phone call, the apology, the dream, the love. We convince ourselves that we'll get to it later, but later is a myth. Later is a luxury not everyone gets. That's why the voices of those who have seen decades pass are so urgent, not in volume, but in meaning. They've lived enough laters to know that one day there won't be another. The truth is, the greatest wisdom doesn't feel like a breakthrough when you first hear it. It feels simple, almost too simple. That's why so many ignore it. But give it time. And one day, when life breaks you open or lifts you higher than you thought possible, you'll remember those words and realize they were never simple. They were sacred. There's a quiet kind of power in loving without expecting anything in return. Not the kind of love you see in movies, where everything is grand gestures and perfect moments, but the kind that's steady, quiet, and deeply rooted. The kind that keeps showing up, even when no one's watching. That's rare, and when you find it, or when you learn to give it, it changes the way you see everything. Most people give love like they're trading currency. I'll do this for you if you do this for me. I'll show up if you show up. I'll give my heart if I'm certain you won't break it. But real love, it doesn't work that way. Real love is a decision to keep pouring out, even when you're not sure how much will come back. It's a choice, not a contract. She once told me that the greatest relationships, friendships, family bonds, romances, are not built on perfection. They're built on understanding. Because no one, not one single person you meet, will go through life without failing you in some way. People will disappoint you. They'll say things they don't mean. They'll forget your needs sometimes. And you'll do the same to them. The glue isn't flawless behavior. It's the willingness to forgive, to extend grace, to keep the door open when it would be easier to slam it shut. Respect works the same way. Somewhere along the line, we were taught that respect must be earned. But she would tell me that if you only give respect to people who've met your personal standards, then you're not practicing respect. You're practicing favoritism. Respect, in its truest form, is something you extend because you recognize the humanity in someone, not because they've checked off your boxes. I remember her leaning forward, her voice low but strong, and saying, "Every single person you meet is fighting a battle you cannot see. And if you knew the weight they carried, you'd be slower to judge and quicker to understand." Those words stayed with me because we live in a world that rewards quick judgment. One glance, one headline, one mistake, and we think we know a person's worth. But real respect, it holds back. It says, "I will treat you with dignity, even if I don't agree with you. I will see the human in you, even if I don't see eye to eye with you." It's not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. To give without guarantees, to love without conditions, to respect without proof. Because it means you have to give up control. You have to release the need for people to deserve what you give. And that's uncomfortable, especially when life has taught you to protect yourself. But here's the thing. Protecting why? Ourself by closing off your heart doesn't actually keep you safe. It just keeps you small. You might avoid some pain, yes, but you'll also avoid deep joy, lasting connection, and the kind of moments that make life worth living. That's the trade-off. And when you talk to someone who's lived a long, full life, they'll tell you the risk is worth it. She told me about her younger years, how she used to keep score. If she gave something, she expected something back. If she reached out, she expected a reply. If she forgave, she expected the other person to change. And over again, she found herself hurt, not because people failed her, but because she had tied her happiness to their behavior. She learned painfully that if you only give when you're guaranteed a return, you'll give very little in life. I think that's why her words carried so much weight when she said, "Love people for who they are, not for what they do for you." Because when you love like that, your relationships stop being transactions and start becoming gifts. You stop asking, "What am I getting out of this?" and start asking, "Who am I becoming in this?" And the truth is, love and respect have this beautiful way of shaping us into better versions of ourselves if we let them. This doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. Loving without expectation doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. Respecting without condition doesn't mean tolerating abuse. In fact, it's the opposite. When you have true love for yourself and for others, you set healthy boundaries. You protect your energy, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You give freely, but you also know when someone is not willing or able to receive what you have to give. She had this way of explaining it that I'll never forget. She said, "Imagine you're holding a cup of water. You pour into people's cups because you want them to feel refreshed, cared for, seen. But if you keep pouring into cups that have holes, all you'll do is run yourself dry. So you keep pouring, yes, but you pour wisely. You find the cups that hold what you give." That image stuck with me because it was such a clear reminder. Loving without expectation is not the same as loving without wisdom. I think sometimes we make love and respect harder than they need to be. We complicate them with conditions, timelines, ultimatums, and scorecards. But when you strip it all back, it's really about presence, being there, showing up, seeing people for who they are, not who you want them to be. That's it. And yet, that's everything. Because here's the truth. One day, the people you love most will be gone. One day, the conversations you're too busy to have will be the ones you wish you could replay. One day, the little moments you overlook will become the big memories that warm you on cold nights. And when that day comes, you won't be wishing you had demanded more from people. You'll be wishing you had given more. That's why love without expectation and respect without condition matter so much. They free you from living a life of constant disappointment because you stop tying your worth to other people's responses. You start finding joy in the act of giving itself. You start valuing people not for how they fit into your life, but for the fact that they exist in it at all. And when you live that way, something incredible happens. You find that the love you pour out doesn't disappear. It comes back to you in ways you didn't expect. Maybe not from the same person, maybe not in the same form, but it comes back. It always does. There's a dangerous illusion that creeps into our lives when we're young. The idea that years are what make a life full. That if you can stack up enough birthdays, you've truly lived. But the truth is, life isn't measured in years. It's measured in moments. And moments don't care how old you are. They can happen at 16 or at 60, and they can pass you by just as quickly at either age. I think back to conversations where the people who had lived the longest didn't talk about decades. They didn't talk about calendars or numbers or age. They talked about mornings when the sun came through the window just right. They talked about the time a laugh lasted so long it brought tears to their eyes. They talked about the smell of rain in summer, the way it felt to dance barefoot in the kitchen, the way someone's hand fit perfectly into theirs on a cold night. They remembered the little things, because in the end, those were the big things. It's so easy to get trapped in the grind of the next thing, the next job, the next house, the next milestone, as if the finish line is where life finally begins. We tell ourselves, I'll enjoy it when, and we fill in the blank. When I'm more successful, when I have more money, when I've achieved more. But here's the cruel trick. By the time you reach those whens, you've already let thousands of moments slip through your fingers, moments you can't buy back. She told me that the tragedy is not that life is short, but that we wait so long to truly live it. We plan more than we participate. We talk more than we listen. We think about the future so much that the present becomes background noise. And yet, if you ask anyone who's lived long enough to look back with clear eyes, they'll tell you, the present is all you ever really have. There's something sacred about noticing a moment while you're still in it. Most people only recognize a memory once it's behind them. They look back at old photos and think, I didn't even realize how happy I was then. But what if you could see it now? What if you could catch yourself mid-laughter, mid-hug, mid-song, and think, this right here is a good moment. I'm going to hold this one. The way to do that isn't complicated, but it does require courage. Courage to slow down in a world that celebrates speed. Courage to say no to things that steal your time but don't feed your soul. Courage to be fully present when your mind is tempted to run 10 steps ahead. She said something once that stuck with me. The clock doesn't care if you're paying attention. It keeps ticking anyway, so you'd better start paying attention. And she was right. I've seen people wake up at 70 and realize they've been living on autopilot for decades. They were so focused on making a life that they forgot to live it. And maybe that's the real question. What will you remember? When you're older, sitting in a quiet room with the weight of the years behind you, what stories will you tell? Will you talk about the meetings you sat in, the emails you answered? Or will you remember the road trips with no destination, the midnight talks that lasted until sunrise, the way your child's face lit up when you walked through the door? We assume memories will just happen to us, but they don't. They're built, they're chosen, they're created in moments where you say, this matters more than that, this person matters more than that task, this experience matters more than that worry. You build them every time you choose connection over distraction, laughter over stress, love over fear. The irony is, we think we're chasing time by rushing through life, but all we're doing is losing it faster. Sal. Owing down doesn't make life shorter. It makes it richer. A 5-minute conversation where you're truly listening is worth more than an hour of half-distracted talk. A single sunset you fully witness is worth more than 100 you barely glance at while scrolling through your phone. And it's not about making every second magical. That's not realistic. Some days will be ordinary, some days will be heavy. But even in the most routine day, there's usually a small moment worth noticing. The smell of your coffee, the way someone's laughter breaks the tension in the room, the comfort of lying in bed at the end of a long day. Those moments don't scream for your attention, but they're there, quietly waiting to be seen. She talked about how the happiest people she knew were the ones who learned to treasure those little things. They didn't wait for perfect circumstances to feel joy. They found joy in the cracks and corners of ordinary life. They didn't just exist through their years, they collected moments like treasures. It made me realize something. Years are just the container, moments are the content. You can have a long life that's empty or a short life that's overflowing. What fills your life is not time itself, but how you choose to spend it. That's why she always emphasized making space for the people and experiences that matter. Because when the years pile up, you won't care about the things you thought were urgent. You'll care about the dinners with friends where you laughed until you cried. You'll care about the trips where everything went wrong but became the best stories. You'll care about the quiet afternoons where you felt completely at peace. We keep waiting for life to slow down so we can enjoy it, but life doesn't slow down. We have to slow ourselves down inside it. We have to stop thinking the big moments will announce themselves with fireworks and fanfare. Most of the moments that shape us, that heal us, that stay with us, they arrive quietly, without warning, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss them. When I think about the people I've lost, I don't remember every year we shared. I remember certain days, certain hours, sometimes just a few seconds. A look, a word, a touch. That's what stays. And when you realize that, you start living differently. You stop waiting for the perfect time to enjoy yourself. You stop putting joy on hold until life looks the way you think it should. You start saying yes to more of the little things because you know they're actually the big things. There's a currency in this world that will never crash, never lose its value, never be stolen from you. It's not gold, it's not stocks, it's not real estate, it's kindness. Every act of kindness you give away is an investment you'll never regret because it multiplies long after you've forgotten you even gave it. Money fades, status fades, beauty fades, even strength fades, but kindness, the way you make someone feel, the way you leave their heart a little lighter than you found it, that's the part of you that outlives you. Long after people forget the details of your life, they will remember how you made them feel, and in the end, that's the real mark we leave behind. I've seen people with almost nothing give more than those who had everything. A neighbor who brought soup to the sick when she barely had enough for herself. A man who shoveled the snow from an elderly stranger's driveway before doing his own. A teacher who stayed after hours, unpaid, to help a child struggling to read. None of those moments will make the news, none will earn a trophy, but they will live on in the hearts they touched, shaping lives in ways we'll never fully see. The beautiful thing about kindness is that it's not measured by the size of the act, but by the heart behind it. Sometimes it's a grand gesture, yes, paying off someone's debt, helping rebuild a home after disaster. But more often, it's small and quiet. A smile at someone who feels invisible. A text to say, "I'm thinking of you." Holding the door, listening without interrupting. Giving someone your undivided attention in a world that's addicted to distraction. She once told me that the truest kindness costs you nothing but can mean everything to someone else. You never know the battle someone is fighting. You never know if your small act of compassion is the thing that helps them hold on for one more day. I've heard stories of people who were on the verge of giving up on life until a stranger's kindness reminded them they mattered. That's the power you carry every day, to be the reason someone doesn't give up. And yet kindness is often underestimated because it doesn't shout, it doesn't demand credit, it doesn't post its own achievements. It works quietly, invisibly, like roots under the soil, holding the ground steady while storms rage above. We live in a time where people are obsessed with making an impact, but they forget that the deepest impact often comes from the simplest acts, repeated consistently. Think about the people who have shaped you the most, the ones who left fingerprints on your life in the best way. Chances are, it wasn't because they were perfect or powerful, it was because they were kind to you when they didn't have to be. Because they believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Because they showed up when it would have been easier to walk away. That's kindness, and that's what lasts. Kindness also has this way of circling back. You may not see it immediately, but it has a ripple effect that stretches further than you could ever imagine. You help someone, they help someone else, and before you know it, your one small act has started a chain reaction that touches hundreds of lives. And here's the magic. Sometimes it even comes back to you. On a day when you're the one in Nisishuans. Aid, when you feel unseen, someone will show up for you and you'll realize it's the echo of kindness you once gave. She used to say, if you want to live forever, let kindness be your legacy. And I believe that. Because legacies aren't just in buildings or businesses or books with your name on them. They're in the stories people tell about you when you're gone. They're in the way your children, or your friends, or your community treat others because they learned it from you. They're in the values you leave behind, woven into the hearts of people you may never meet. The truth is, you don't have to have much to give much. You can give patience, you can give understanding, you can give encouragement. These things cost nothing, but to the right person, they can be priceless. You don't have to wait until you're rich, or until your life is perfect, or until you feel ready to make a difference. You can start with the next conversation, the next stranger you meet, the next moment you have to either walk away or step in. And kindness isn't always soft. Sometimes it's strong. Sometimes it's standing up for someone being treated unfairly. Sometimes it's telling the truth with love, even when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's protecting someone's dignity when no one else will. It's not about being passive. It's about using your heart as much as your hands. When you live with kindness as your compass, you'll notice something. The world opens up to you. You start seeing more beauty, more humanity, more connection. People trust you. Doors open in ways you couldn't have planned. You sleep better knowing you've put more good into the world than you've taken from it. And yes, there will be times when kindness feels wasted, times when you give and it's not appreciated, times when your effort is taken for granted. But that's when you remember, kindness is not a transaction. It's not about who deserves it. It's about who you choose to be in the world, no matter what comes back to you. Be cared. Use one day all the things we think are important. The titles, the possessions, the accomplishments will fade. They'll gather dust or be passed on or be forgotten entirely. But the way you made people feel, that will live on in their stories, in their hearts, in their choices. And those ripples will move through the world long after you're gone. And so, when all is said and done, it isn't the years you live that matter most. It's the moments you filled them with. It's the people you loved without conditions. It's the respect you gave freely. It's the memories you created by being fully present. And it's the kindness you scattered into the world like seeds, trusting they would bloom long after you're gone. One day, your voice will quiet, your footsteps will slow, and your calendar will clear. But the echoes of how you lived will keep speaking through the lives you've touched. You can't take your possessions, your titles, or your trophies with you, but you can leave behind the love you gave, the respect you showed, the moments you cherished, and the kindness you lived by. That is the only wealth that lasts forever. So live it now, give it now, be it now, because tomorrow isn't promised, but today, this moment, is still yours to shape into something unforgettable.